Hi, my name is Susie Olson, and I will be doing a tutorial on Google Drive focusing on spreadsheets. Anyone with a Google or Gmail account can access Google Drive. To get to Google Drive, Google the terms Google Drive, and it'll give you a chance to log in using your username and save it as a favorite within your favorites bookmarks to be able to access it easily. Google Drive interface looks like this. I have a number of different documents created already, as you see. If you have something you want to upload from a word processing program that you already have, there's an upload button right here. Today we're going to focus on creating, and these are some of the things you can create with Google Drive. Like I said, we're going to be focusing on spreadsheets today, and I'm going to go ahead and click on the word spreadsheets. As you see, the interface for spreadsheets looks very similar to what you might find in Microsoft Office's Excel spreadsheet package or other spreadsheets you may have used. On the very top, we have a hot button that says Untitled Spreadsheet. Today we're going to work on a spreadsheet that will help you document what plants, perennials, and trees that you have in your yard. So by clicking on the word Untitled Spreadsheets, a pop-up box opens up, and here's a field that you can go ahead and add the name of your spreadsheet. So if you, as you see, I filled in most of my data. I'm going to go ahead and tab through to get to my last cell. I'm going to fill in the word location. And as long as you've typed those in the row, so start with number, code, and all the way across, get to the end location and hit enter, it's going to take you back to the beginning so you can start filling in your data. So that works anytime that you're working with any of these type of spreadsheets. If you're ready to enter your data, the first number, so you have two of this particular hosta, the code number in the spreadsheet I've created would indicate what garden. So we'll say this is my heucheras, so it would be H, and then this is my first heuchera I'm going to record, so it'd be H1. The botanical name, you fill that in, and then all the way across fill in all your information about this. You hit enter again, it'll take you back to the beginning of your spreadsheet so you can add more information. So kind of handy to use. It works in Excel, and it also works in this Google Docs. Now you see that all my columns are the same width. Number, I'm not going to need that much room. As you see, I only have two of this particular plant that we're using it as an example. If you hover over the space, so the gray area across, the columns are listed and identified with letters. So if I hover between the A and the B and double click, come on, it'll shrink to the width of the widest item in that cell. Code, I don't need a lot of room either, so I'll double click on that. Botanical name, I might need a little bit more room, so I'll spread that out a little bit. Common name should be fine. Characteristic, that could go a little wider. Fine. So for characteristics, it would be a good column to go ahead and select wrap text. Now if we would go ahead and fill in some information, you'll see that it will automatically go to the next line once you hit enter. Now, or tab, so I tab to the next line. Now you see that it doesn't show up yet, but our text is not, well, okay, let's take a look. Selecting it at that point where we just had it apply to the whole column, it isn't going to work, so we need to select the cell and then select the wrap text. And possibly, after you fill everything and then select the full column, which is done by selecting the gray up above, in this instance the F, then anything that needs to be wrapped would do that. But you just have to play with that a little bit and see how the program responds to you. So that's a nice option, though, to have your columns a little bit narrower. Otherwise you get this super long or wide column, and it makes it more difficult to see the rest of the columns you have in your spreadsheet without the text being, so then the text would end up being not readable if you used these long lines. One thing that you can do as well, and we see that this makes a wide enough space. You've got the size 10 font size. If you want to create or format all your cells to have the same font style and font size, you select the box in the very left-hand corner that is next to the labels for the columns and the rows, and you can click on the down button, down arrow next to that 10 or the font size, and you can change all the font size accordingly. Doesn't mean that it's going to allow for your width of your columns to change. You'll still have to go back in and double click on that, or just simply click and drag to widen out those columns accordingly. Now if you wanted to adjust the height of all of your rows, you can select all of the rows again by clicking that empty box in the very left top corner and hover like you did with the columns, hover on the numbers then of the rows, select them, pull them down to how wide you think each row should be, and it'll automatically adjust the height of your rows, give you a little bit more space to work with. There's a lot of other tools in here. I just want to point out this, the formatting paint format. Let's say I had selected this cell and changed the font to this veranda, which is a whole lot different. Well, let's do veranda and change the fill color to orange. And let's say I wanted to have that orange and veranda for all my cells, all my headings. Then I take the paint formatter, and it's asking if I want allow access. Paint formatter, click on that again. I know it's turned on now because I can see the dotted line here, and I would just go ahead and paint all that over the top of the cells I want, or if it's a particular cell, let's say paint formatter, and I want it in this cell, then it would do likewise. And because I had selected this whole row, that's why we have this full length selected, even though I only clicked on the one cell. But I'm going to undo that, and a couple more times, and there we have it back to what we had before. If you intend to print this document, be aware that the lines that you see on this spreadsheet are not lines that will print. In order to put lines on your spreadsheet, you will need to select the cells, and in this instance, because our Google spreadsheet goes to 100 by default, we'll select all the columns. Up in the top toolbar, you will notice that there's an icon for borders. We could just select the word borders, but let's take a look at what kind of borders are available. By hitting the down arrow next to that grid, we see that we can add just the crosshairs, we can add just the exterior border, and we can add lines top, bottom, and so on. You also can choose the line color, the line weight. For our purposes, we're going to select all borders, and there you see all borders have been added. Another feature in this Google spreadsheet is to add more lines. And you see down here, by default, it has it set up so you can add 20 more lines, and you can change that number by selecting it to anything you want and then click on the Add button.